Please.
Good evening to everyone. Hearty welcome to Day 2 of Jwala 2021, organized by Women's Club of Thrissur branch in association with Thrissur branch of SIRC of ICAI. First, let us hear from the President of Women's Club, CA Bindu ma'am. Ma'am.
A warm good afternoon to all of you. Definitely, it's a proud moment for us as Day 1 of Jwala 2021 was a success with more than 175 years. The inaugural session was truly inspirational with the presence of pioneers from CA fraternity as well as from outside the profession. To our faculties or members handled their topics in a very vibrant manner. The inaugural session was truly inspirational with the presence of our chief guest, Mrs. Vardhini Prakash, Executive Director of Kalyan Hypermarket, who shared with us her journey so far, the teething troubles she had faced initially, how she overcome all of them, how the owner's touch can make big changes, how effective giving a hearing ear to the customer can be, how success is dependent on efficiency and effectiveness, and much more. Our conference director, CA Babu sir, as always encouraged and emphasized on the active participation of lady chartered accountants and also urged us to make more leadership roles. The message conveyed by our conference convener and past chairperson of Thrissur branch, CA Shilpa, was truly motivating. She urged each and every us to break the shell of our comfort zone and come out because a world of opportunities is awaiting us. We had a special guest yesterday, CA Sruthy, All India 9th rank holder in November 2020 examination, and the conversation with her was an eye-opener. She said, CA course can be compared with swimming in the Pacific Ocean. Either you can swim along with the waves, you will definitely reach somewhere, but it need not be your destination. If you have a clear dream and a determination to achieve that dream, then you will have to swim against the waves to reach that destination. The technical sessions were ably handled by our budding speakers, CA Babita T and Gayatri M. Venikal, on the topics taxation of foreign income and GST input tax credit, respectively. A big thanks to our senior members and fellow professional colleagues for the strong support extended to us. We expect the same in today's coming sessions also. Today, we have 2 technical sessions and 1 health session, very relevant in our present scenario by Dr. Sonia Joseph, consultant in Paediatrics, General Hospital in Nalakuda, about COVID-19 third wave and its impact on children. Amidst her busy schedule, she found time to be with us today. With much respect and gratitude, I welcome you, ma'am, to the gathering. Let me also welcome our chairman, CA Aryan sir, conference convener, our beloved Shilpa Ramdas, and vibrant lady speakers, CA Valentina and CA Shruti. I would like to welcome all other members of Women's Club who are directly or indirectly a part of our prestigious Jwala 2021. It is my pleasure to welcome our senior members of the profession, managing committee members of Thrissur branch, and all my fellow members in the profession to this meeting. I would like to request everyone to kindly cooperate with us throughout the program for making it a great success. Wish you all a fruitful session ahead. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am. As Bindu ma'am said, today we have 2 technical sessions and a special awareness session on health and precaution against infections. Today's first technical session is on accounting for and auditing of digital assets handled by CA Valentina, which is a very different topic from the ones we usually have as sessions. And topic for the second technical session, which is presented by CA Sruthy, is trust and trust renewals relating to one of the major amendments to Income Tax Act in recent times. And the third and final session for the day is regarding our biggest concern in today's pandemic situation on how to face the third wave of COVID and its impact on children. So let us straight away start today's first technical session. I call upon CA Sujata to introduce the speaker, CA Valentina. Sujata.
Thank you, Gayatri. Am I audible?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone.
CA Valentina Joe qualified as a chartered accountant in 2012. She also holds a bachelor's and master's degree in commerce and postgraduate diploma in business administration from Symbiosis Pune. She worked in Ernst& Young as a senior associate for their transaction advisory services task team. Currently, she is in practice at Arun Bijoy and Company, handling the responsibility of the firm at Eastport branch. She handles firm's tax audit and GST audit engagements. I'm very happy to introduce the next session speaker, our own member, CA Valentina Joe, who will take us through the topic, accounting for and auditing of digital assets. Welcome, Valentina.
Thank you, CA Sujata, for the nice introduction. Before going to the presentation, I would like to thank Women's Club of Thrissur branch of ICAI for giving me this opportunity to present this paper. I would also like to congratulate them for a wonderful session on the day one. Now I just present my screen. Okay, I hope it's visible. Okay, so today's topic is accounting for and auditing of digital assets. It's not a conventional topic, but you will know why it is relevant as I go through this topic. So I'll get directly into the topic. What is a digital asset? Just give you an overview of what are digital assets. So digital assets in its basic form is simply content or resources that can be stored digitally. This can be any resources. It could be video, images, audio clips, motion pictures, document files that is stored in computers or data storage devices. They account as digital assets. They have a value and they have a right to use as well. And in its most specific form, digital assets are digital representation of resources that are issued and transferred using a specific technology, which is either called as a distributed ledger or a blockchain technology. And these digital assets can be used as a means of exchange or payment, or it can be used for investment purpose and can be transferred, stored, or traded electronically. And digital assets, it is not issued by any government or any central bank or any public authority. So I will explain this in detail when I go about the types of digital assets and tell you what each digital assets are. So first one are the cryptocurrencies. Now, cryptocurrencies or digital tokens or coins based in blockchain technology, which is the most famous one, which is called as the Bitcoin. So this is what I'll be concentrating. This cryptocurrency is the topic that I'll be concentrating throughout this presentation. Other types of digital assets are tokens. Now, tokens are of three types: asset-based token, utility token, and security token. Asset-backed token are digital claims on a physical assets, and they are so backed by an asset. These tokens are backed by assets, which could be real estate, crude oil, equity, or just about anything else that can be tokenized. Now, utility token is a digital token of cryptocurrency that is issued in order to fund the development of the cryptocurrency itself and can be used later to purchase a goods or service offered by the issuer of the cryptocurrency. Another one is a security token. A security token is, on the other hand, represents an ownership stake in an asset, typically a company and its entities holder, to share profits in an asset. And these security tokens are much less common. Another is content digital assets. This include digital assets like the company logo, photos, videos, documents, which is used to all the visual representation or text in case of document which can be viewed. As I mentioned, the focus of this presentation would be on the cryptocurrencies, as other types of cryptocurrencies are not as complex or not as popular as them. other type of digital assets, sorry. Digital assets like content digital assets and tokens are not much common or popular as the cryptocurrencies. Now, when I first heard about cryptocurrency or Bitcoin for the first time, like I couldn't make up my mind, like what is it? It's just a new hype, or it's something valuable that is going to remain for years. Is it going to be a very good investment option? So here I'm not going to give you my personal opinion about how worthy it is to invest in cryptocurrencies, or because it's totally out of scope of this presentations. But more and more people and businesses perceive crypto assets as a great option of investing, or as a money-making opportunity. And thus more and more people and businesses hold and create these assets. Now, logically, the question is how to account for holding and creating the cryptocurrencies. So before I start digging into the topic, let me tell you, although cryptocurrencies were first born crypto assets, new type of crypto assets have been created since the Bitcoin was born. Now, cryptocurrency, what exactly is cryptocurrency? Cryptocurrency is digital currency designed to function as a medium of exchange. It means that you can perform financial transactions with cryptocurrency if your counterparty accepts it, and you can make investments in cryptocurrency as well. So if you would like to know how exactly this cryptocurrency works, there are many articles and YouTube videos which you can refer to see how exactly the cryptocurrency work. As I mentioned earlier, the scope of this presentation is, and since the time is very limited, I can't go into the technicalities of the cryptocurrencies, but I would go into the accounting and auditing aspects. I want to get into there. That is the topic. So yes, some characteristics of cryptocurrency is that they are decentralized. That means they are not issued by any central government, central bank, or any government body. Then they are recorded in a distributed ledger, which means that all the transactions in the currency are recorded in the one big ledger, which is called as the blockchain. And every participant has his or own copy of the ledger. The cryptography is used to ensure security and to prevent fraud. To verify the correctness of the transaction, each valid transaction carry a sort of digital signature or a hash. Now, cryptocurrency is used to cryptographic assets, including cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, have generated a significant amount of interest recently, given their rapid increase in their value and volatility in the prices. So Bitcoin is the first one. And after that, after its highest market capitalization, the second biggest cryptocurrency in terms of market capitalization is Ethereum. Since then, there have been many like Litecoin. Most of the many such variances have come up. As activity in crypto assets has increased, it has attracted regulatory scrutiny across multiple jurisdictions. Now, what is the Indian government's take on this cryptocurrency? So in 2017, RBI and the Ministry of Finance issue statements on cryptocurrencies. They compared them to the Ponzi scheme. They found it, they couldn't wrap their head over it, and they thought it to be some sort of a fraudulent scheme. So the Indian government is still wasn't very sure of how to deal with the phenomena. In 2018, RBI came out strongly and kind of banned these in India by issuing a circular. So they prevented commercial, cooperative banks, payment banks, small finance bank, NBFC, and payment system providers from dealing in virtual currencies. Now, this ban was reversed by the Supreme Court in 2020, citing that as unconstitutional. But still, the Indian banks were curtailing transactions with crypto exchanges, as in their view, they are governed by RBI and not directly by the Supreme Court. But a few days back, RBI said that the banks cannot cite, quote, this in ban of 2018 to its customers, as it is overruled by Supreme Court. So in spite of all this flip-flop of different government bodies, the RBI said a few days back that the central bank still has major concerns around cryptocurrencies, which they have conveyed to the government. And about investors, it is for each investor to his or her due diligence and take a very careful and prudent call to invest in these cryptocurrencies. Now, as things stands now, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are not illegal in India, but they are unregulated. And that unregulated part is what is bothering the government. But as the crypto space is all about no central authority regulating it, the government may still not be very sure how to tame this. So blockchain technology in itself, it's quite promising, and government doesn't want to miss out on that. But how not to undermine its own possession from a regulatory aspect and still allow investors to join the space is what they are deliberating. The government hence is planning to bring in the cryptocurrency and regulation of official digital currency bill 2021, which is expected to clear the government stance once and all. So the draft bill is waiting for the cabinet approval. Now here, this is where we get into the topic. We got an overview of where cryptocurrency regulations as far as India is standing. Now we'll get into the major topic, like how when we come across a cryptographic asset in a company, how would we what would we do? How would we account it? How would we audit them? So at issue is how to recognize, measure, and disclose activities associated with issuances of and the investment in the various types of cryptographic assets. So since there are no accounting standard that specifically addresses the cryptographic assets, one must look at the existing IFRS and apply a principle-based approach. So in this presentation, I'm going to highlight some of the accounting questions that are currently being debated and share my views on how the IFRS could be applied. So why IFRS is because IFRS has there's no specific standard, but there is a staff paper which gives the guidelines on how it can be adopted, cryptocurrencies can be adopted and accounted. And similarly, India is converged with IFRS. So this so that's why IFRS is the approaches of IFRS or the principles of IFRS has been deliberated here. The issues that arise are diverse and highly dependent on specific facts and circumstances. While examples and considerations illustrate generic principles, cryptographic asset transactions are rapidly evolving. It means that, it keeps on changing. So as of now, these principles are which we can rely on to account for the cryptographic assets. So first question. So cryptocurrency is defined as a digital money or a virtual money. So it's a currency, right? So naturally, we kind of try to relate it as cash or cash equivalents. As of it might be, it is expected that a cryptocurrency holding could be accounted for cash. But unlike cash, however, cryptocurrencies are not backed by government or central bank. Furthermore, they are not considered legal tender in virtually all jurisdictions. So putting this in accounting context, IAS 7 statement of cash flows does not provide a definition of cash, but merely state that cash comprises of cash on hand and demand deposits. Whereas IAS 32 financial instruments presentation say that currency or cash is a financial asset because it represents a medium of exchange and is therefore the basis on which all transactions are measured and recognized in financial statement. Here, looking at this description, it appears that clearly that the cryptocurrency cannot be considered equivalent to cash because they cannot be readily exchanged for any good or service. Only few things which are prescribed with the exchanges Only in certain circumstances they can be used. It is not equivalent to cash. They don't have a legal tender. They are not backed by the government or any central bank. So they cannot be accounted for as cash. Now, what about cash equivalents? So as well, IAS 7 defines second category of cash equivalent instruments that are almost as good as cash because they are cash-like in nature. So can cryptocurrencies meet this definition? So IAS 7 state that cash equivalents are short-term, highly liquid investments that are readily convertible to cash, which are subject to insignificant risk of changes in value, meaning that cash equivalents is something like a FD or something like short term, which the value is known, which we can readily convert into cash, and there won't be there's insignificant no change in the value of the cash. But if we see Bitcoin is an example, a cryptocurrency is subject to considerable price volatility. Their rate there is sudden increase and sudden decrease in value. So looking at this definition, it seems clear that cryptocurrency cannot be classified as cash equivalents as they are subject to considerable price volatility. For example, Bitcoin lost about 28% of its value in January 2018. Next is are cryptocurrencies financial assets? Now, another seemingly intuitive approach is to account for cryptocurrency holdings would be as financial asset at their fair value through profit and loss. So this is met out in IAS 2, defines a financial asset as being an asset, which is cash, an equity instrument of another entity, or a contractual right to receive cash or any other financial asset, exchange financial asset, or the contract or any contract that will or may be settled in entity's own equity instruments, like a derivative instrument or a non-derivative instrument. Now, comprehensively looking at this definition, cryptocurrencies are not equity instruments, or they are not contracts that can be settled in equity instruments. So the possession of the cryptocurrency does not give the holder any contractual right to receive cash or any other financial asset. Hence, cryptocurrencies cannot be classified as financial asset. Next one is, can they be accounted as investment property? Now here IAS 40 defines investment property as property, land or building or part of building or both held to earn rentals for capital appreciation. Now, even though if cryptocurrencies are held by entities for capital appreciation, they are not in, there is no physical asset. So automatically they does not come under this definition, and they cannot be classified as investment property. Next is, our cryptocurrencies plant, property, and equipment. IAS 16 and India's this IFRS is since India's is almost derived from IFRS, it's converged with IFRS. The definitions is as well good as in the India's. So that's why I've written only IAS 16. It's applicable for both India's as well. So in IAS 16, property, plant, and equipment as well, the tangible is the definition is the tangible items that are held for use in the production or supply of goods or services, for rental to others, or for administrative purposes, and are expected to be used more than one period. So whatever we say, cryptocurrency is not any physical, it does not have a physical form. So they definitely can't be accounted as tangible asset as plant, property, and equipment. The next and the most or the only option which will be left out is intangible assets. So IAS 16 defines the intangible assets as an identifiable non-monetary asset without physical substance. So when we break up this definition, it gives it three parts: identifiable, non-monetary asset without a physical substance. Now, identifiable is looking at the first aspect of this definition. IAS 38 states that an asset is identifiable if it is either separable, that is capable of being separated or divided from the entity and sold, transferred, licensed, rented, or exchanged, either individually or together with a related contract. Identifiable asset or liability, regardless of whether the entity intends to do so. And also it arises from a contractual or other legal rights, regardless of whether those rights are transferable or separable from the entity or from their other rights or obligations. So since cryptocurrency holdings can be traded on an exchange, in a cryptographic exchange, or in a peer-to-peer transaction, so it meets the definition of an identifiable assets. Now, second part is non-monetary asset. So in terms of whether they are non-monetary asset or a non-monetary asset, IAS 38 defines monetary assets as money held and assets to be received in fixed or determinable amounts of money. So the value of cryptocurrency is not fixed or determinable, but subject to variations that arise from the supply and demand, and it cannot be predicted. So therefore, it is not monetary in nature, but non-monetary in nature. And cryptocurrency are a form of digital money, digital virtual money. So they do not have any physical substance. So to summarize that, given that the cryptocurrencies are a form of digital money, which have no physical form, which is an identifiable asset, and as well as since they are non-monetary in nature, they can be easily classified under intangible asset. Another consideration is, will they be considered as inventory? So IAS 38 states that intangible assets held by an entity for sale in the ordinary course of business, that is if a business is only trading in cryptocurrencies, then they are outside the scope of IAS 13. Any company which is trading in intangible assets in the ordinary course of business, then they should be accounted for under IAS 2 inventories. So cryptocurrencies can be classified as inventories by the entities. But in the recognition part or in the measurement part, usually as per IAS 2 inventories are valued at cost or net realizable value, whichever is lower. Whereas in the case of commodity broker trader, it is a fair value less cost to sell. The inventory is to be valued at fair value less cost to sell. So cryptocurrency can be classified as an inventory by entities such as commodity broker traders in a business model, that these are solely acquired with the purpose of selling them in the near future and generating a profit from fluctuation in price or broker traders margin. As I mentioned, the entity should consider the requirements in IAS 2 for commodity broker traders who measure their inventories at fair value less cost to sell. So here's the summary of what the classification I mentioned. Cash and cash equivalents as per IAS 7 statement of cash flow. No, it's not acceptable. Why? Because cash, there's no legal tender. It's not governed by a central government or authority. Why not cash equivalent? Because of the price volatility. We are not able to likely receive the same amount. what we invest in. So that's why they cannot be classified as cash or cash equivalents. Financial asset at fair value through profit or loss account. IAS 39, financial instrument recognition and measurement. No, because they are not any equity instrument or any contract which under the equity instrument. Investment property, IAS 40, investment property. These cryptographic assets do not have a physical substance, physical form. Even though they have capital appreciation, they cannot be classified under investment property under IAS 40. Property, plant and equipment, as the same in investment property, they don't have any physical form. They are not a physical asset, so they cannot be classified under property, plant and equipment. Intangible asset, yes, because it agrees to the definition of the intangible asset as under IAS 38, which is an identifiable non-monetary asset without any physical substance. So yes, it can be classified under intangible asset. And inventories, yes, in certain conditions, that is when they are held held for sale in the ordinary course of business. They are only dealing in cryptocurrencies. That's what their business is. They can be considered as inventories, and their measurement would be they would be recognized at fair value less cost to sell. So if you acquire cryptocurrency units in order to hold them and store value over extended period of time or for other purposes, then you will need to apply the standard IAS 38 intangible assets. Unfortunately, the IFRS IFRIC staff paper did not state any recommendations or decisions on how to apply IAS 13 for cryptocurrencies. So the cost model and the revaluation model of intangible asset principles can be applied here. So first one is the cost model. Here you would need to hold your cryptocurrency at cost. You recognize them at cost initially, and later at cost less accumulated amortization and impairment losses. This is doable because especially there will probably not be any amortization because cryptocurrency has an indefinite useful life in general. However, when there are declines in cryptocurrency's fair value, you'll need to account for the impairment. Then there is another problem if the fair value of cryptocurrencies increases above cost. You would never recognize this increase of cost under in this cost model or the cost approach, because here it's only costless accumulated amortization and impairment losses. So that's not very intuitive when you hold cryptocurrency for capital appreciation purposes. Revaluation model is the next one. So if active market exists, you can revaluate cryptocurrencies to their fair value and account for any increases directly in other comprehensive income or for decreases in profit and loss account. So here the procedure is mentioned like initial recognition at cost, subsequent measurement at fair value less accumulated amortization and impairment losses. And if there is an increase in value, recognize in profit or loss to the extent of reversal of any decrease recognized in profit and loss in earlier periods. Recognize revaluation reserve in other comprehensive income for remaining balance, if any. And if decrease in value, reverse the revaluation reserve balance, if any. Recognize the balance in profit and loss account. This is the same approach as we do in any other intangible asset. And it depends on for what purpose you're holding the cryptocurrency for. So if you're holding a cryptocurrency for capital appreciation, that is probably the most appropriate than a cost model. And here the approach is the basic approach is the conservation principle of accounting, where like provide for losses and provide for losses. So here we see if there is any loss, it is recognized in profit and loss account. Whereas if there is any increase in value, it is recognized in the revaluation reserve and not in the profit and loss account. Now, in case of impairment, testing for impairment, IAS 38 requires an entity to assess whether the useful life of intangible asset is finite or infinite. Now, cryptocurrencies are designed to act as a store of value over time. So our view is that they would be considered to have an indefinite life for the purpose of IAS 38 intangible asset. An intangible asset with an indefinite useful life is not amortized. So such assets which are not amortized needed to be tested for impairment and compared and by comparing its recoverable amount with its carrying amount annually, and whenever there is an indication that the intangible asset may be impaired. So in those cases, the asset should be checked for impairment and provided for as well. Next is cryptocurrency held for trading. If you're holding cryptocurrencies for sale in ordinary course of business, you might need to apply IAS to inventories. So if your business is to act as a broker trader of cryptocurrencies, then you should apply IAS to, more specifically IAS 2.3b for commodity brokers and traders. As you might know well, commodity brokers and traders are to measure their inventories or here cryptocurrencies at fair value less cost to sell. So my view is that this will only be appropriate in narrow circumstances where cryptocurrency assets are acquired by the reporting entity with the purpose of selling them in the near future and generating a profit from fluctuation in the price of broker-dealer's margin. So these were the measurement and the accounting approaches that are followed for cryptocurrency. Next, we'll see the disclosure requirements. Now, what are the disclosure requirements? So entities holding cryptocurrency assets will need to comply with those disclosure requirements of either IAS 2 or IAS 30, as in how they are classified, as in how they are appropriate. Given that cryptocurrencies do not fit easily within the IFRS framework, entities may need to consider additional disclosures in order to comply with the overall objective. So in IAS 1, presentation of financial statements, which is to provide useful information to the users of financial statements. With this in mind, entities should give consideration to disclosing the factors such as the nature of cryptocurrency assets held, the accounting policy for them and how it was determined, like based on accounting principles of the entity, like is it an intangible asset or if it's an inventory, the measurement basis, the principle followed in the measurement basis, as we saw above. And as per IAS 10, changes after the balance sheet date. If there is any major change in the value of cryptographic assets held after the reporting period, those need to be disclosed in the financial statements. And as per IFRS 13, the fair value of cryptographic assets held. If we are using a cost model, then we need to disclose a fair value of the cryptographic assets held, then the level of fair value hierarchy with which the fair value measurements are categorized, the valuation technique used and inputs used to determine the fair value, and a discussion of the sensitivity to the unobservable inputs. And as I mentioned, IAS 38, intangible asset, fair value of the assets held for entities adopting a cost approach. So in case of, this is the same as the above, like in case of entities using a cost approach, what is the present fair value, and how this fair value is obtained. Those need to be mentioned. Then the fair value of the assets after the reporting date, after non-adjusting events. Then historical information on the volatility of the cryptocurrency. That is, the cryptocurrency value keep changing every day, every minute. So just of or a historical data information about the same need to be disclosed. Carrying amount of any inventories carried at fair value less cost to sell. As per IAS 2, the carrying amount of inventories carried at fair value less cost to sell, how they are valued. Then any amount of write down of inventories recognized as an expense in the period. Those details are to be disclosed. So these are the this is pretty much what the disclosure requirements for cryptocurrencies held by the entity. Now, auditing considerations specific for cryptocurrencies. Since there is no any specific audit guideline or specific to cryptocurrencies, it depends on as and how they are accounted. So if we are going to account it as intangible assets, the auditing considerations that we follow for intangible assets should be applied. Similarly for inventories also. Other than that, what else can we do? Obtaining an understanding of entities' information systems for cryptocurrency transactions. So if the entity has an appropriate information system framework which is required for the cryptocurrency transactions, that should be verified. Then evaluate the actual blockchain protocol that is used and understand the nature of digital assets and their underlying protocols. So this is the technical side, which as an auditor we must try and understand. And make sure that the transactions are manually initiated or executed automatically via smart contract. So in case of manually initiated, then check for the internal controls. And then the blockchain technology and the technology used by and relied on by the entity to track, aggregate, reconcile, and report cryptocurrency balances and transactions. So goes through the technology used by and relied on by the entity to track, aggregate, reconcile, and report the cryptocurrency balances and transactions. The entity's methods and controls implemented to hold and secure digital assets and to authorize and track digital asset transactions, basically the internal controls. So the internal control should be verified. If they have proper authorization methods, tracking methods for the transactions, then obtain a balance confirmation from the relevant cryptographic exchanges. It's similar to the bank account confirmation. And if an entity is using an internally developed software, ensure that there is an availability of clean, accurate, and sufficient data for validating the transaction histories. Then an auditor should understand a little bit of technicality as well of how these systems work, how they compile the data and examine the underlying logic of this. And since there is no any standard or guidelines regarding auditing, one must make sure that like it's not very easy because there are a number of frauds that is happening. One must do all the research before investing in this cryptocurrencies, or when as an auditor what we should do is we just make sure that these cryptographic exchanges are a valid one, about their reputation, how reputed are those firms. All those are the only efforts that can be taken by us as an auditor to make sure that these cryptographic they are not any fraudulent transaction. So these are pretty much the auditing consideration specific for the cryptocurrencies. It's basically the diligence of the investor to decide whether to invest in cryptocurrency transactions or not. As an auditor, we just have to see the accounting approaches and the auditing considerations which we can apply for these kind of transactions. And here I'll specifically only explain the cryptocurrencies. The other digital assets, they might have a different way of a different approach of accounting as well. And that's it. So I would like to thank once again the Thrissur branch for helping, for giving me this opportunity, the Women's Club, and everyone who supported me, like Bindu ma'am, Shilpa ma'am, and everyone. Sorry if I've forgotten any names. The chairman, branch chairman, CA Aryan sir. Everyone was so helpful. I would like to thank one person here is my husband. He was the one who selected this topic for me, and he did all the research, and he made this presentation as well. So yeah, he made the work really easy for me. So I would like to thank him, CR and Davis as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Valentina. That was a very wonderful presentation because the topic was a brand new and fresh topic. How to go about the accounting and other aspects of cryptocurrencies. As you said, it keeps on changing every day. All the approaches keeps on changing because it's only in the growth stage. This area has never tickled my fancy, so I'm not very much interested in accounting of cryptocurrencies, or I have not studied much about it. Today you have given a detailed insight into what are the cryptocurrencies and how it can be recognized, measured, its accounting approaches, disclosure requirements, auditing considerations, etc. It was very nice, and the presentation was very well tailored. As I said, I will call a better person to give a closing remark on this topic. Shall I invite CA Divya Dharmarajan, please, Divya?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, respected Chairman of ICAI Thrissur branch, CA Aryan sir, President of Women's Club Thrissur, CA Bindu ma'am, the conference convener, CA Shilpa ma'am, other prominent panelists, and my dear CA fellow members. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank CA Valentina for helping us understand cryptocurrency from an auditor's perspective. As we all know, the presentation was very crisp and informative. And also, there is a great deal of hype around how cryptocurrencies work. And basically, the cryptocurrency was started, I think, somewhere in 2008. And it was based on the idea that one day it could act as a common monetary system that could help replace the inefficiencies of the current centralized system. However, now we are in 2021, but still today, most people see cryptocurrencies as a tool of investment rather than as a currency. So CA Valentina has helped us to understand what was the timeline of the government and the RBI stand regarding dealing with cryptocurrency, and how now the government is working around passing a digital currency bill, which is still under consideration and approval of the parliament. She has also helped us to understand that even though cryptocurrency is a digital currency, it still cannot be considered as a legal tender or a cash equivalent or as a financial instrument or as an investment. Rather, it should be considered as an intangible asset. And she has also helped us to understand what are the key considerations that we should look into as an auditor. So once again, I would like to thank Valentina for giving us such a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Divya. So I hand over the session to Gayatri.
Ma'am, the questions.
Yeah, sorry, I left out the questions. We will take up the questions, Valentina. We have received a couple of questions.
Yeah.
And the first question is, how could auditor ensure that digital assets documents are not forged documents? What are the factors auditor should consider while conducting audit of DAs? digital assets?
So here, as I mentioned, I've only covered cryptographic assets. And
Okay.
here, as I mentioned earlier, we cannot look, as an auditor, we cannot like go and find out for fraud or anything. So we, the most thing we can do is make sure that it is already in a reputed cryptographic exchange, reliable cryptographic exchange through which the transactions are being made.
Okay.
That's the only way which we can make sure that it's not in a fraud or anything.
Okay. Okay. So that is the consideration according to you that the auditor should take up.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Because yeah, while cryptocurrencies may definitely hold potential, there's always someone promoting a get rich, always a chance for fraud, but I don't think it's our stand to find out if it's a fraud or not. But only thing we can make sure is the documents are in place, the transactions is through hello. It's not audible. Do we have any other questions? Like,
I'm sorry, there was a technical issue. Can you hear me, Valentina?
yes, ma'am, I can hear you now. I think my answer was
Okay. So we can go to the, yeah, answer was clear. Actually, there was a technical issue and I was logged out. I have relogged. So I will give the second question to you.
Okay.
RBI had virtually banned cryptocurrency trading in 2018, but Supreme Court has struck down the curbs imposed in 2020. What is the current status of cryptocurrency trading, and can an entity have crypto in their balance sheet? If so, how to value them?
Yeah, I think I've covered all this question in my presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, so RBI had banned it in 2018, but this ban was upheld by the squashed by the Supreme Court, withdrawn by the Supreme Court. So even the RBI ban was basically for the banks falling under the RBI, that they cannot be dealing in the cryptocurrencies. Whereas anyone, if we go and if we need to transact in a cryptocurrency, even now it's possible that we can buy cryptocurrencies to our bank transactions. There's no issues. Yes, any company can have their crypto assets in the balance sheets, and valuation method, like the suggested one as per the principles of IFRS or the NDS, would be as covered in the topic in the presentation.
Yes, it was there. It was there in the it was there in the presentation how to value it, and you have clearly said that it can be shown as a balance sheet item.
Balance sheet item, yes.
Okay. So these were the two questions. No, these were the two questions that were mailed to us. So you have answered it pretty beautifully. So I think I can hand over the session to Gayatri now. Thank you, Valentina. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, CA Valentina. Thank you for selecting this topic. It was completely fresh, and most of us were ignorant on how to do lessons in our books of accounts. And thank you for presenting it. And now it's time to move on to the second technical session. And the topic for second session is trust and trust renewals. It's presented by CA Sruthy. And I invite CA Sruthy to give a brief introduction about our speaker, CA Sruthy. Smriti, please.
Thank you, Gayatri. Am I audible?
Yes, you can continue.
Good day. Okay, thank you. Good evening. We have CA Sruthy K, MCom, FCA with us to discuss on trust and trust renewals. CA Sruthy K graduated from Christ College, Irinalakuda in the year 2009. After qualifying Chartered Accountancy in the year 2015, she is independently practicing at Sruthy and Associates. Moreover, she is a visiting faculty for professional courses at various institutions. I would like to welcome CA Sruthy K to her wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you, CA Smriti. So let's hear from CA Shruti, the topic of the second topic of the day, trust and trust renewals. CA Shruti, please. I think there's some problem with. Hello. I think there's some problem with CA Shruti's connection. Let me check. She's going to present on the topic trust and trust renewals. Maybe she'll join in a minute or so. Let's wait.
See, Shruti is joining us in a minute. See, Shruti is just joining us in a minute. Please wait. After that, we have the general health session by Dr. Sonia Joseph, who is the junior consultant in pediatrics from General Hospital Irinjalakuda. Shruti? Shruti? Are you ready, Shruti?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So please start.
Good evening to all. I am CA Sruthy, practicing chartered accountant in Thrissur. I also grateful to get this opportunity to me for taking this webinar, Trust and Trust Registration, which is an important topic in the current scenario. Let's begin. Finance Act 2020 has made sweeping changes with respect to provisions related to trust and NGOs claiming exemption under Section 11 or under Section 12 of the Income Tax Act 1961. A new Section 12AB became introduced for the Act for registration and renewal of registration of the tax. However, due to COVID-19 pandemic, the date extended to 1st April 2021. Thereafter, earlier provision for registration, Section 12AA, become inoperative. Now, from 1st April 2021 onwards, the new Section 12AB, become prevails. Let's see what are the major difference. Madam, 1 minute. PPTs. PPT press. Yes. Okay, madam. Yes, thank you. Now let's see what are the major difference between earlier provision and new provision. One of the major insertion as per new registration procedure is introduction of provisional registration, which was not there in the earlier procedure. The concept of provisional registration is introduced to tackle the existing practical issues in granting registration of the trust. And the other major difference is with regards to validity period of registration. The registration under section 12AA was valid for lifelong unless the registration is cancelled. However, under the new regime, the validity period is limited. In the case of regular registration, it is for 5 years, and in the case of provisional registration, it is for 3 years. Next, there is also change in the forms to be furnished. Earlier, only one form that we know, form number 10A used, and now we have 2 forms to be furnished under various situations, form number 10A and form number 10AB, sorry. Form number 10A is used for revaluation of registration of existing organization under section 12A, 12AA, 1023C or 80G, and also for applying provisional registration under section 12AB and 80G. With regard to form number 10AB, used for conversion of provisional registration into regular registration. As we said, new section 12AB for a limited period, the renewal of registration or approval after 5 years. Next, activating inoperative registration under section 1023C or 1046, re-registration for modification of object for the entities under section 12. Then the new regime also bring 2 forms for issuing orders by the department, form number 10AC and form number 10AD. Earlier there was no forms. Form number 10AC is used for issuing order by the department for granting provisional registration, while form number 10AD is used for issuing order by the department for granting regular registration or rejection or cancellation under the new provisions section 12AB. Next, we will discuss what is the importance of new procedure. What is the intention of new procedure? The new procedure makes completion of registration process on fast track basis. As the validity period of registration is limited, it assists the department in periodic review of whether the object of the trust adhered or not, whether the activities are genuine. Madam, 1 minute. The presentation is not clear. Once again, with regards to intention of new procedure, the new procedure makes the completion of registration process on fast track basis. As the validity period of registration is limited, it assists the department in periodic review of whether the object of the trust is adhered or not, whether the activities are genuine. This is all about my introductory part. Then we will move to the core area of our topic, the trust registration under section 12AB. We have 7 different situations of registration, such as, firstly, we discuss what happened the existing trust. Next, trust for which application is pending for approval as on 1st April 2021. Next, we will discuss new registration as per section 12AB, inoperative trust as per section 11.7, and then re-registration of trust that has modified its objective, and the last one, renewal of trust registration and any other case. Starting with existing trust. As per the new provision, existing trust has to get revalidated in order to continue the exemption. For this purpose, it has to revalidate the existing registration as per the new provision by filing form number 10A in the electronic form. The time limit for filing such form is within 3 months from 1st April 2021, as it means has to revalidate registration within 13th June 2021. But due to some current practical difficulty, the date extended to 31st March 2022. Form 10A has to be verified by the person authorized under section 140 of the Income Tax Act by using digital signature or electronic verification code. With regards to documents required, we will see the later part of my presentation. Then, after uploading the document, PCIT or CIT, that is Principal Commissioner or Commissioner of Tax, will pass order for granting registration in form number 10AC within 3 months from the end of the month in which application is received. Then the registration will be granted for 5 years and has to be renewed at least 6 months prior to the expiry of 5 years. So these are the procedure with regards to existing trust. Then next we can discussion about the application made by the trust or other institution prior to the instruction of new provision and application is still pending for approval as on 1/4/2021. For such institution, the application filed as per the previous provision shall be deemed to be application under section 12AB, that is new provision for provisional registration. So further application is not required and therefore provision relating to verification and submission of document is not applicable as it is already done the same in the previous. On the receipt of application, Principal Commissioner or Commissioner pass order for granting provisional registration within 1 month calculated from the end of the month in which the application was received in form number 10AC. And on the receipt of such provisional registration, the trust can be commence its activities immediately. After that, the application they apply for regular registration has to be made within 6 months commencement of activity or within 6 months prior to the expiry period of provisional registration, whichever is earlier, in the form number 10AB. Within 6 months from the end of the month in which application is received, the PCIT or CIT pass the order for regular registration in form number 10AD. And the validity of registration, as discussed earlier, provisional registration is for 3 years and for regular registration it is for 5 years. Next, fresh registration as per section 12AB, that is new trust registration. For a fresh registration, first the introduction has to apply for provisional registration in form number 10A at least 1 month prior to the commencement of previous year relevant to the assessment year for which such registration is sought. The main point to be focused here that if a trust has to apply for provisional registration for the previous year 2021 or 22, the application should have made before 1st March 2021. As the forms are not available at that time, the provision itself provides relaxation for the said previous year. Application made during the previous year 2021-22 is sufficient for getting provisional registration for the said previous year. Provisional registration will be granted by Principal Commissioner or Commissioner within 1 month from the end of the month on which application is received in form number 10AC. On the receipt of such provisional registration, the trust can commence its activities immediately. After that, application for regular registration and has to be made 6 months from the commencement of activity or within 6 months prior to the expiry of provisional registration, whichever is earlier, in form number 10AB. Then PCAT or CAT grant registration within 6 months in which the application was received in the form of 10AD. The validity of registration in the case of provisional registration, it is for 3 years, and in the case of regular registration, it is for 5 years. Fourth, we will discuss in the case of inoperative trust under section 1023C or 1046. Such institution can make application at least 6 months prior to the commencement of the assessment year for which registration has to be made operative. The said application is to be submitted form number 10AB, and on the receipt of such application, Principal Commissioner or Commissioner will pass an order in the form number 10AD within 6 months calculated from the end of the month in which application is received. The registration will be valid for 5 years. Next, in the case trust which have modified its objective, it has to be get registered under section 12AB within 30 days from the date of such modification in the form number 10AB, and within 6 months from the end of the receipt of application, PCAT or CAT will pass order in the form number 10AD. And about the validity, the registration is valid for 5 years. About the renewal aspect of registration, the renewal of registration is done one of the specific features of new provision, which I already discussed in my introductory part. After obtaining registration as per the new provision, every institution get registered under this section has to apply for renewal of registration within 6 months prior to the expiry of validity period in form number 10AB. Within 6 months is calculated from the end of the month in which application is received. PCAT or CAT pass the order in form number 10AD. And the last one, in the other case, there is a residual provision. The case do not fall the above provisions considered here. In this case, trust will make application at least 1 month before the commencement of previous year relevant to the assessment year in which registration is sought, and the application has to be made in form number 10. On the receipt of application, PCAT or CAT pass the order within 1 month from the end of the month in which the application is received in form number 10AC. About the validity, it is valid for 3 years and thereafter renewal. So these are the procedure to be kept in mind regarding registration as per section 12AB. And now we are going to discuss what are the documents to be attached while filing form number 10A and 10AB. Firstly, we have to attach formation document. So in the case of trust, it is trust deed. In the case of society, bylaw of the society. In the case of section 8 companies memorandum. The evidence of formation is not available, then any document available for evidencing the formation of such organization. We have to attach certificate of existing registration, foreign contribution and foreign contribution and regulation act if applicable, existing order for granting registration or rejection, annual accounts of the past 3 years, annual account of the past 3 years if the trust is doing business activities, copy of document evidencing the adoption of modification of change, not on the activities of the client. After attaching this document, form should be submitted electronically and verified by the authorized person under section 140 by using digital signature or EVC. Mode of furnishing through electronic mode, then sign verified by digital signature or EVC authorized by the person under section 140. Now we deals with cancellation. These registrations are subject to cancel by the department. Regarding the cancellation of provisional registration, the order for cancellation will be passed by PCAT or CAT if form number 10A not duly filled or provide false or incorrect information or non-compliance of verification of form by the authorized person. And regarding the cancellation of regular registration, the same will be cancelled if PCAT or CAT at any point of time have to reason to believe that the activities are not genuine and they are not doing accordance with the object of under section 11 or 12 of the Act. The provisions of other laws are not compliant, then the registration will be cancelled. On the cancellation of registration, the URN issued will be cancelled. A reasonable opportunity of being heard will be given before the cancellation. And now I am also bringing your attention some important point. Application which is pending for approval under section 12A or 80G or 1023C shall be deemed to be application pending under new provision. A separate application form 10A shall be made for section 12A and 80G. On the receipt of application in form number 10A, the principal commissioner or commissioner shall issue 16-digit alphanumeric unique registration number, that is PAN based. Next, the trust or institution registered under section 12AA and approved under section 1023C or 1046 of the Act, as the case may be, are entitled to take exemption only one of the following: 1, section 11 or and 12 or section 1023C or 1046. Nextly, 1 second. And moving to the conclusion of my presentation, I would like to show steps for registration and is purely with regards to fresh registration under section 12AB. First, take PAN, then register the PAN with Income Tax Department site, then logging and select e-form, then file 10A for registration, then PCIT or CAT issue form 10AC if the registration is granted. Then a 16-digit unique registration number will be allotted to the trust. File form 10AB, PCIT or CAT ask relevant document, PCIT or CAT issues order of the form under section 10AD. If there is any questions?
So I think the presentation is over. Sruthy,
Okay.
the presentation is over.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So you have made a detailed presentation about trust and NGOs, its registration, all those entities coming under 11 and 12 and the 12AB registration and approval. As you said, 12AA has become inoperative and the regular registration will be for 5 years and the provisional registration will be for 3 years. And for the application of registration, which is already pending as on 1/4/2021 under 12AA will be automatically considered as application pending under 12AB. All those points were very well tackled by you. I would like to add 2 more points to it. That is in the new changes, it has been specifically said that when a corpus donation is accepted by a trust, it has to be kept in a separate bank account. That was also a change that was brought in. Yes. The corpus donation has to be kept in a separate bank account by a trust, and that this corpus donation can be utilized only for the objects of the trust. If you contributed previously, if you contributed to a similar trust, it would be considered as an application. But now, if you contribute it to a similar trust, that is a trust having similar objects, it will not be considered as an application. So these are the 2 major changes which has come up in 2021-22. These can also be added with your presentation. These were, otherwise the presentation was really good and you did it really well. So I think we can go to the questions. Sruthy, okay. Ready? Okay. The first question is, how the taxation of unregistered NPOs, trust, section 8 or society? How is the taxation?
The taxation in the case of unregistered NPOs are similar as AOP. That is maximum marginal rate they can tax.
Okay, that is whenever a member is in the MMR, so the taxation
will be
in the maximum marginal rate.
Yes.
Okay. Would a new registration, that is 12A or 12AB, has a retrospective effect if the assessments are still pending?
Madam, once more.
The question is about a new registration. Can it be taken with retrospective effect? if the assessments are still pending?
There is no retrospective effect of provision, only the prospective effect. And if the registration is taken, then we can claim the exemption under section 11 and 12.
Okay, okay. That is 12AB registration will be considered only from the year in which we have put up the application.
Yes.
There is no retrospective registration for a trust. Then the third question is, can a NPO wait for ITR filings until it gets 12A registration? If so, how long?
There is no use of waiting such filing for IT return.
Okay.
And they can file return on the due date.
Okay, as an AOP.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So there is no need to wait for the registration to get approved. Yes. You can file the entity's return as if it is an AOP. You don't have to wait for the 12A registration. That is your answer.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Sruthy. Okay. So that was a really good presentation. Now we are moving on to the next session. I hand over the session to Gayatri. Thank you, Sruthy.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, CA Sruthy, for the presentation. That was a wide coverage of the topic in a simple manner. All provisions were clearly explained with crisp summary in the PPT. The topic is relating to one among the major amendments in income tax in the recent times, and it was a very requisite topic right now. So thank you for your presentation. And that's the end to the 4 technical sessions in Jwala 2021. And now we are moving on to the health session, which is the most required thing in the present situation of COVID. It is an awareness session on COVID-related health issues and how to deal with post-COVID problems, which is equally important in our present day-to-day life. In today's world, where we are all fighting against our common enemy, when we are only getting bad news, bad and unhappy news from every media that we have access to, when the hope of coming out of the situation is slowly diminishing inside each of us, here we have a person to guide us on how we can keep ourselves safe and healthy. COVID has divided time into 3: pre-COVID period, COVID period, and post-COVID period, for which all of us are eagerly waiting, I should say. And to shorten our gap to reach that dream era, the post-COVID era, we should take many precautions and keep ourselves ready to face and deal with every odd that comes in our way. So we have a person very apt to talk on this topic, Dr. Sonia Joseph, who is a junior consultant in Paediatrics, General Hospital, Irnyalakuda. And to tell us more about her, I welcome CA Ramya for a formal introduction of Dr. Sonia. CA Ramya, please.
Gayatri, am I audible? Hello, Gayatri.
Yes, yes, Ramya.
Gayatri, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Continue.
Can I start?
Yes.
It's my immense pleasure to introduce the speaker of the day, Dr. Sonia Joseph, Junior Consultant in Pediatrics at General Hospital, Irnyalakuda, to speak on the topic Children and COVID-19. We all know how demanding medical profession is. It's literally a round-the-clock job, sometimes even without a tea break, especially in this era of pandemic. It's really a challenging job, especially for a woman, because no matter how tight her schedule is, she has to take care of her family too. Dr. Sonia is a mother of 6. She's really an inspiration to women who think one cannot handle profession and home with an equal justice. Her husband, Dr. Raju, is also a pediatrician. Nowadays, many among us, as well as our family members, are going through post-COVID symptoms, and many have trouble to get over it too. Hope our health expert will throw light on these aspects and guide us. Ma'am, it's really an honor for us to have you here in spite of your busy schedule. Ma'am, I welcome you to share your views on the topic COVID and children. The screen is all yours.
Yes, Dr. Sonia has joined us. She'll be addressing us in a few seconds. Please wait. Yes, welcome, doctor. Please unmute yourself, doctor.
Good evening.
Good evening, good evening. Good evening, doctor. Welcome to our forum. This is the Women's Club of Thrissur branch of SIRC of ICAI. So we are all chartered accountants and our family members. So just for your information, that we are all eagerly waiting to hear from you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, the forum is all yours.
Okay. So shall I start video sharing?
Yeah, sure. You
Sharing.
can.
Okay. Is my video visible? Is my screen
Yes,
visible?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay. Good evening, friends. So, as a part of, as a doctor and more thankfully to God, I can say as a government doctor, as being part of the COVID brigade or COVID, managing COVID for the last 1.5 years, I can say that every chance I get to speak about COVID, I want to do so because any patient who comes early in the disease, we can save the patient. Because the patient is going to have a rough time dealing with the disease if he comes at a later time, and also the person will be having the post-COVID complications also. So I'm working in General Hospital in Irnyalakuda, and we are part of the COVID team, and our team leader is Dr. Uma. I know she's a wife of CA Ragesh. And we are very proud of Uma because she has been leading the team for the last 1.5 years, and they have been motivating us. And in my home itself, I would like to share my experience because I have 6 kids and to my parents, and we are 10 of us at home. And till now, 7 of us has been infected with COVID. And very thankfully to God, because I'll share that we went through the disease, we never had complications. And I always wanted to study more about the disease and do everything which I can do, that is to avoid every complication. So going to the slides, this is I'm going to speak about COVID-19 and children, and also some slides about the adults also, because every time an adult turn up earlier, we can save the life of the person. So any doctor in the COVID time, our aims, what we are aiming is to intensify the prevention, because we are again and again stressing on the preventive aspects. That is, we have to take all the precautions. And it is, you have already seen, we have always seen about SMS. Okay, SMS, I'll be dealing with it again, and intensify the precaution. You have to take every single precaution, because you have to take it more seriously. Because when I ask patients why you are not wearing the mask, they say that, Doctor, ശ്വാസം മുട്ടുന്നു, mask വെക്കുമ്പോൾ ശ്വാസം മുട്ടുന്നു. ഞാൻ പറയും, because you have to come to our ICU to see what is original ശ്വാസം മുട്ടൽ. Because initially when I used to go to the ICU and see the patient with the breathing difficulty, I couldn't sleep at night, because it is so terrible. You cannot see a person with a real breathing difficulty, especially with COVID. So you have to, we always aim at intensify the prevention. We ask them again and again to take all the necessary precautions to prevent the disease from getting the disease and reduce the complications. When you are hitting early, you can always reduce the complication. You can prevent the patient from going bad, and you can save the life of the patient. And really, it is avoid death also. And you have to give a good post-COVID life for the patient also, because to avoid death and also to have a post-COVID life that is healthy and also merrier as before. So I've just put a slide on the COVID virus, coronavirus, and it is actually an RNA virus, that is a nucleic acid, just some theory. It is an RNA virus, and it is having a lipid envelope, and also it is having proteins attached to it. And the different test is going to pick up the different parts of the protein, and also the different medicines we are using also is going to act on the different parts. Just I put a slide to just give you an idea about the structurally. So the most important part, which are again, even when we talk about the disease, the most important factors, the 4 pillars of COVID-19. Nothing is more important than that. It was the same yesterday, it is important today, and it is going to be important tomorrow also. Because you must never forget, but it's because it is SMS, social distancing, mask, soap, and never the least but the vaccine. And it is going on. We have to come up with the vaccine again. So what is about the social distancing? You have also, or you might have read, and you already know, because the transmission, when you're creating the aerosols, because it is through cough, and when the person is sneezing, or when you're talking, when you're smiling, when you're laughing, anything from your part, when the person is having, there are large droplets, and also there are micro droplets. So the large droplets means it is going to settle, it is going to come out of the person and going to settle within a distance of 6 feet or 2 meters. So that is the importance of giving a social distancing of 2 meters. 2 meters or 6 feet. Just remember, it is 6 feet or 2 meters. That is important, because the large droplets will settle within that distance. And there are micro droplets and also aerosols. It was not explained before, earlier in the disease, but now it is well known that these things are going to stay in the air. And it is via there is air transmission also for corona. So there are aerosols in the air, and definitely that is the role of the second letter M, that is mask. And naturally, for us dealing with the positive patients, and the best one is definitely the N95 mask. And we are putting it, the N95, any type of mask, you have to be sure you just you are wearing, you are taking an umbrella and going out in the rain and the umbrella is having holes means you can never be sure that you'll be getting wet. So you have, when you, any type of mask, whether it is N95, whether it's a surgical mask, you have to be sure that there are no leaks and it is staying close to your skin, your cheek, your nose, and also the portion below the chin also. So the most important thing is the N95 mask. If you're going to a definitely or some congested area to a highly infective area, there is nothing more than N95. So, and when now we are also stressing on the double masking also, that you can see in the picture, the inner one is the surgical mask where it is having 3 layers and is going to filter the coronavirus, and the outer one you're going to wear is the cloth mask, and that is going to close all the holes, even if anything is there on the surgical mask, so that it is going to make it tight on the cheek and also along the nose. And then along the nose also you have to make it tight so that it is it stays tight. And you have to look at the mirror. I always say that in this situation, it is not you have to look at the mirror not to see whether you're looking beautiful, but to see that your mask is staying correctly. You need not touch, you should not touch the mask once you get out of your house or once you get out for your work. You have to make sure. I always give the example of when I always ask the ladies in a labor ward or in a pregnancy ward, that is, you always wear your undergarments tight. You know, when you go out, you are going to get it loose means you'll be naturally be embarrassed. But you never think about your mask in such a way. So the most important thing, you look at the mirror is to check that your mask is staying tight, and you have to blow so that you can see in all the portions that no air is leaking out. So that is very important. And the next is soap or sanitizer. That is for the virus disinfection and for the killing of the virus. And soap, it is going to destroy the lipid envelope, and alcohol-based sanitizer, it is going to destroy the lipid envelope and also the proteins. And the hydrogen peroxide, we don't recommend it so frequently. It is definitely the soap and the sanitizer. And just a wash is not enough. You have to wash it for 20 seconds clearly, and you have to follow. I haven't included the steps of hand washing. You can check it in the net. It is available for 20 seconds. The clear hand washing is necessary. So I have dealt with the precautions. It is the most important in any class, in any part of our life. This is the most important part. I have begun it with the precautions because it is a thing we have to practice. You may be vaccinated, you have taken other precautions, but you may be doing some other precautions also. But these SMS is most important, and you should never avoid it or think of it as very little, because I have been infected with COVID one month back, but I can say that I've been in this area for the 1.5 years and following all these, and I've been protected. So please check that SMS is very important. So coming to the disease per se, some theoretical parts and also theoretical features, and also I will stress some points also. So anyway, we are looking to the friend and whether a third wave is coming or not, or whether it is going to affect children. It is always in the depth of the mind, because children are very precious to us. So whether it is going to affect children or not, but there are some positive points. I always like to stress some positive points. So in children, you can see it's a pyramid, and the base of the pyramid, the children, apart from the adult children, is asymptomatic, and the disease is even if they get it, it is asymptomatic. That is no symptoms at all for the children, or very, very mild symptoms in 90 to 95% of the children. And moderate symptoms, that is a bit more heavy symptoms, or fever, or some sort of respiratory difficulty, is seen in only 4.4 to 5%. And whereas in adults, moderate to severe symptoms are seen in 14 to 15%. And you can just see in adults, ICU care or critical patients, it amounts to about 5%, but in children, it is less than 1%. Because, and that too, the children who became very critical from every part, from our different parts of our country, and also from other countries in the West, and also they say that the children getting sick are those who are having other illnesses, that is, diseases which are related to lungs or liver or cardiac diseases, or those are taking drugs which are going to lessen their immunity. So that too, that is a positive thing, is that we have seen critical illness in children only in less than 1%, that too in children who were not healthy before. So the disease is asymptomatic or mild in 90 to 95%. So what may be the cause of less severity, or the disease itself is less severe? In India, actually the studies are much less. So I've taken the statistics from the USA, that is there they say total children with COVID, 3.9 million cases. That is the pediatric population. It is only 14% of the total those that is affected. And the hospitalization is only 0.1 to 1.9% of hospitalization. And also that too, it amounts to only 1.3 to 3.2% of the total COVID-19 hospitalization. And the mortality, naturally, it is much, much less than our situation, but still it is only 0.2, it is 0 to 0.21%. So we can definitely say that disease is much meager. There is very much remote chance of getting severe disease in children. So I've written some points, that is basic theory, but why are the children, why it is something hopeful for us, that is the disease is much less severe in kids. So that is the main part of the adults are going to be sick because of pneumonia, and also the blood is going to get clotted in the blood vessels, in the heart, anywhere, in any other organs, and also in the brain. It is like that is going to make the disease bad in case of adults. But in case these AC receptors are the thing which is into whom the coronavirus is going to get bound. These AC inhibitors are much less mature in case of kids. So the coronavirus is not able to bind to the receptors, and that is not good. So the children are not susceptible to pneumonia or other chances also for to get the blood coagulated in their blood vessels. Endothelium means it is the lining of the blood vessels. So in adults, there is a much increased incidence of blood getting clotted, but in children there is less a chance of pneumonia, and also very meager chance of pneumonia, and also and still more less chance of blood clotting also. Because the children, they are not having much other comorbidities also, diabetes or hypertension or other liver kidney disease, and that was less. So that is also a cause, and less vitamin D, vitamin D deficiency also causes severe illness. So that is less, and children are being given the immunizations, and they have innate immunity also. And that is, the other one is basic theory. So anyway, we are hopeful, we are very thankful that the disease is much less severe in kids. So one thing is that in the first, now again to what is going, this time is not an apt fund for predicting a third wave, or actually to give a statistics on the third wave, but just some points that in the first wave we know that most of the illness occurred in the severe illness occurred in the illness occurred in the elderly population, and in the second wave the 50% of the illness was in less than 50 years, and so now we are seeing that almost more than 18 years have been immunized, and everybody is giving predictions that so the children are less than 18 years are not immunized. So is there a chance for the children to getting affected, or like that? There is always discussions going on because it is a non-immune group. So actually, from the symptoms, that is, children are not having symptoms and test positive, from the test positivity rates across the country, it has been collected that only 10 to 12% of the children have been affected. In the first wave also, it was only about 40, in less than 20 years, about 14% of the children were, 14% in the total affected, 14% in the total affected of children were affected. And the second wave also nearly 14 to 20% of the children were affected. And according to the test positivity rates, we can speak of that only about 10 to 12% of the children affected. But recent data conducted by the ICMR says that there is something we can put our confidence on, because ICMR has done zero conversion, check for the zero conversion rate, because once a person is getting COVID infection, the body is going to produce antibodies in the body, and they tested the antibody levels in the adults as well as in the children, because once you get the infection, the body is going to produce antibodies against the infection. So when I'm going to check the zero prevalence rate, that is a zero positivity, ICMR conducted the zero positivity rates, zero prevalence rates across the country in different states. And they have come up with the results that in the June-July time, 67.6% of the children are showing COVID antibodies in their blood. So we have said that symptoms are usually mild. According to the symptoms, it was said only about 10 or 12% of the children were affected. But this, according to the antibodies were detected, when the antibodies were detected, having more than 50% of the children already have been infected. So we have some more, we have the rest of the children who are at risk, but naturally we have seen that they have a less infection, and we have seen the precautions. So we are looking onto the positive part, that is a majority of the children, more than 50%, have already been affected and they already immunized with the virus, and that the rest of the children is at risk, but that too they are having a very less chance of developing a severe infection, and that too I've shared already, that we have to take all the available precautions on our part, so as that our children are not affected. So now going to the incubation period, you may be all well versed with it. What is the incubation period? It is that any person, children or the adult, that is going to get exposed to the virus, and the time between the exposure of the virus and the time when the patient develops symptoms. And I've been exposed to virus on Monday, and today I'm developing a running nose, means I have an incubation period of 2. That is 2 days between the gap between my exposure and also my developing the symptoms. And the average, it is 2 to 14 days is the incubation period. That is the base for asking the patient to take 14 days quarantine, because the patient can develop symptoms as late as 14 days. But the average is usually 5 days, because after exposure, the person, the children and adults usually develop symptoms within 5 days. And usually it is fever, but in this way, children usually showing symptoms, mostly running nose or nasal block rather than fever. But we also seen fever or chills. Some children, older children, they complain of sore throat. The small children, they cannot make out what is going on, and they just cry. Headache is there. Some for children, cough is there. And the bad part is that they have lost the smell and taste. The mothers complain they are not taking food. They are having nausea, and nausea means that they have the tendency to vomit, and they are vomiting, and also diarrhea. Diarrhea means is loose stool. Loose stool is also was much common in the first wave, and also the shortness of breath. We have to identify the children before they develop any difficulty in breathing. So the symptoms are usually mild, but you have to have a high index of suspicion to test every child when the child develops symptoms. But the sad part is that even a breastfeeding child, mother says the child is not feeding because the child is not having taste or smell. So a child cannot understand and the baby cannot understand what is going on. The child is not taking food. Maybe the urine output is also very less. So mothers complain in many ways because they know that the child is not the same as yesterday. So home to test every primary contact and also symptomatic, that is the child or any adult who has symptoms. And when the child is coming to the OPV, make the children test. Many mothers and parents are usually reluctant when we tell them to check the babies because they say, Doctor, we say that when we pick up a child, we know that we always ask whether any adults are having infection. They say nobody is having any fever at home, just that the child alone is having an infection. But we always make them test because we know that the disease is very is mild in children, but there may be an adult at home who may be having other illnesses and who have a higher risk of developing complications. So maybe the person is not having symptoms in the at the onset, but the adult or the elderly may develop go for a very bad state later. So when you detect corona, you are able to isolate the child or make them either isolate the child and the mother, or you are able to isolate the elderly also. So testing is very important. I want you to take this message home. That is, any symptom, any suspicious symptom, whether it is fever, please always get tested, because we have seen that when you test, you have a feeling you have corona, and you look for the mildest of the symptoms, and you can report at the center early. That is, you can prevent any complication. So yesterday it was said that you don't have to do antigen test, because antigen, it becomes positive only in 50%. RT-PCR is definitely the definitive test, and it becomes positive in 75 to 80%. And we always do RT-PCR in children because we may not be able to do a very good nasopharyngeal test, because you can see the depth you have to go in case of a swab, because we may not be do justice to that in the case of a child, but in the RT-PCR, it can detect it very easily. So another thing, your child is having symptoms. So always parents are worrying, doctor, antibiotic kodukano, whether you give to need antibiotics, whether you give that medicines, whether you want to give that for cough and other things they will be asking. But for children, the medicines we are giving is just for the illness. If the child is having fever, we tell them that just you give paracetamol. If you don't wait, we don't know the dose, we'll tell them the dose. You just give paracetamol according to the weight of the child, because only paracetamol, maybe the mother was used to giving other drugs for strong fever, but we only recommend paracetamol for a fever in case of COVID. We don't give, you may know of Estalin or Livolin or Salbutamol for cough. We never give such drugs for cough. If the child is having a wheezing or breathing difficulty, the child was having a breathing difficulty in the past only, we give salbutamol, because these drugs are going to increase the heart rate. Maybe that is not going to have a better outcome in case of COVID. So medicines for a COVID child, it is definitely according to the illness. If the child is having fever, we give paracetamol for fever. If the child is having loose stool, the mother can breastfeed the baby, or give uppita kanni vellam or ORS or curriculum. No, not any tea with sugar or some traditional things, only that is ORS, breast milk, or kanni water, or curriculum. These are the only ones recommended. And if it is nasal block and all, we give some other medicine for cetirizine-like medicines, and also for the nasal drops also, the child is having nasal block. So these are about the basic. The treatment is very simple. Just give medicines for only the symptoms. So what is the time you have to seek a medical help? Also, what are the conditions when you have to seek a medical help? The child is having a respiratory difficulty. So we always tell the mothers, what is the rate? If your child is having only 1 month, we say that in a minute you have to count the respiratory rate. That is when you are taking breath in, the baby, when the baby is taking the breath in, the baby's tummy is going to come up. The baby's tummy is going to rise. So in a minute, when the tummy rise in a minute, and it will be going back. So the tummy rise alone we should count. So when in a minute, when it's going to be more than 60, we say that it is a increase. The respiratory rate is more. So we have to suspect that something is problem with the baby's lungs, or maybe this will happen also when the baby's having a high grade fever also. So we're giving paracetamol, and again, if the baby is having a fast breathing, the baby should be brought to hospital. And for 2 to 12 months, it is more than 50. We give necessary instructions for the parents. It is for 1 to 5 years, it is more than 40 years, and more than 5 years, it is 30. Definitely a respiratory difficulty, the parents have to bring the child to the hospital. And reduced activity. Mother says the child was okay yesterday, but today the child is not well. Child is not getting up or not active, not playing. It is definitely an indication to bring the child to the hospital. And the child is poor feeding, child was breastfeeding, and even altered sensorium, that is not behaving normally, and seizure, it is fits. When going through a seizure or hypoxia, that is oxygen level is less. That is when you're looking on through a pulse oximeter, if they have at home and they see that the pulse oxygen saturation is less than 94%, it is definitely an indication to bring the child to the hospital. But another thing is that usually patients have a digital pulse oximeter, that is the photo. It's a digital, that is any finger can be used, but for uniformity, we always say that it is the right hand, middle finger of the right hand is better. It is not, any finger can be used. But in case of children, their fingers are small and also the thickness is also small. Maybe you'll not be able to get a good result. Maybe you'll be getting a result that is wrong. And just see that the rate, if the respiratory rate is going fast, you have to bring the child. For adults also, and then now I'm going to say some things about the adults also. So the respiratory, when you're putting it on, you are pressing on the switch, that the white button is the switch, and it is getting on, and you are looking at the screen. It is a SpO2, that is oxygen saturation. It should be more than 94%, and once going below 94%, just you have to make the finger hot, and you have to wipe the finger together, and just again check, and you have to sit calmly and again check. And if ladies are having a nail polish, you have to remove it, or check on a finger that is not having a nail polish, and again check. If it is less than 94% at any time of the illness, you have to go to the hospital. But you are checking after some time, again, it is less than 94%, means you have to go to the hospital. And you are having a normal value that is 98, and then you have to do a stress test. That is, you should, for children, it is not easy. So it is for the adults, I'm saying, because you can walk through the room. You are in isolation anyway. Even if you are in isolation, you can walk through the room, and for 6 minutes, the time is the 6 minutes. You can walk slowly through the room for 6 minutes, and again check the pulse oxygen saturation, and you are seeing a saturation of 98 in first, and then now again after the walk you're checking, and you're getting a saturation 95, means you are having a dip in the saturation. That is, you are stressing your body, and that is going to you're stressing your body, and that is going to reduce the saturation, means it is definitely an indication to go to the hospital. And also the pulse rate for children, it is different rates, but in less than 1 year, it is more than 150 and all. But in commonly in adults, more than 100 heart rate, even if without fever. And if you're having a chest pain and all, you have to report to the hospital. And persons may not have a pulse oximeter, that the breath holding test is for those patients, because breath holding test is you are having to take a deep breath. You are taking a deep breath like this. And then you're going to hold the breath. You're going to hold the breath, and you're checking the time for how many minutes or how many seconds you are able to hold the breath. And during the starting of the illness, you were able to hold the breath for 25 seconds, and you see on the 5th day or the 6th day that you are able to hold only for 23 or 21 seconds. That too is an indication for going to the hospital or getting a medical attention. So now some theory about the complications, because it is pertaining to the adults mainly. Just to stress that there is a phenomenon called cytokine release, because the body is going to fight or throw out the virus. But in the meantime, the body is producing some things called the cytokines, and that is going to attack the body back. The cytokines is going to attack the body back, and that is going to result in a pneumonia and also blood clotting in the blood vessels of any organs of our body. So these are some slides, because anyway, if you, what I mean is that if you or your relatives of any of your friends are getting symptoms, you have to advise them. That is, any part of you may be having fever or cough. It is pertaining to adults. Fever or cough in the onset, and at any time you are checking the blood saturation, oxygen saturation 2 or 3 times a day, and at any time it is going to go below 94% means you are a person to check, get medical help. And that too, and usually you're having fever and cough for 5 days, and you see that you are in isolation, you are masking, you are checking the saturation, and that you're seeing that your symptoms are persisting, and your symptoms are going beyond 5 days. I'll again stress to all those who are listening to me, that is, you are having symptoms. It is not from the day of the test. Again, I mean to make it clear, it is from the onset of symptoms. I have my onset of symptoms on first means on the 5th day, after the 5th day. On the 6th day, I have the cough and fever or any difficulty. I have much fatigue, that is ksheenam. Patient is telling, ഇന്നലെ എനിക്ക് ഡോക്ടറെ എണീറ്റ് നടക്കായിരുന്നു, ഇന്നലെ പക്ഷേ ഇന്ന് എനിക്ക് എണീക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല. That is definitely an indication to check. പിന്നെ തലകറക്കം. And another thing, patient പറയുന്ന ഭാഷ ഞാൻ പറയണമെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ പറയണം. Fever and cough, you will definitely understand. ഡോക്ടറെ എനിക്ക് ഇന്നലെ കുഴപ്പമില്ല, ഇന്ന് എനിക്ക് എണീക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല, ഞാൻ ഇന്നലെയൊക്കെ കുറെ കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ ചെയ്തു, നടന്നു, ഇന്ന് എനിക്ക് പറ്റുന്നില്ല, ഇന്നലെ എനിക്ക് എന്ന് തല കറങ്ങുന്ന പോലെ. ഇതൊക്കെ definitely these are symptoms. Even after the 5th day, anytime, 6th day, 7th day, 8th day, never be late than that. You should always advise any of your relatives, any of your friends, go to a hospital, not to check to see that corona is negative. No, now we don't recommend to check that is corona is negative by an antigen test. There is no need. All those who have died of corona had their test negative, so we are not going to benefit from that. After 5 days, the person is having symptoms, go to a hospital who's having, we have at Irinalakuda, we are testing every single person who are having definitely symptoms of fever and cough from day 6 and above. We are testing. So please remember that after 5th day, if they are having symptoms, please get yourself or any friends tested by blood and also X-ray and also D-dimer. Some important tests is X-ray and also D-dimer. X-ray is also necessary to see whether there is onset of pneumonia, because all these start after the 5th day, or it starts around the 6th to 7th day of the onset of symptoms. It is not from the day of testing, but it is from the day of onset of symptoms. Hope it is clear. So red flag signs, as before I've said, it is excessive fatigability. Doctor, when you say a symptom, you definitely check the blood, because drowsiness or altered sensory, they're behaving, not behaving normally, breathlessness, and hemoptysis. What is hemoptysis? It is that is the patient is bringing out coughing and bringing out blood and sputum. And chest pain, definitely chest pain, palpitation. These you have to go to hospital, because we have to see the test. We may have to take an ECG, we have to evaluate. We are seeing that some patients are saying, Doctor, these are the patients, and they come, Doctor, saturation was 68%. And actually, we are very much sad when we see, and we have a broken heart when you hear that history, because they are having a problem for 2 days and they're reporting to us. And in that, there is a phenomenon known as silent hypoxia, because happy hypoxia. Patient is happy, patient is not having any distress at all, but the oxygen level is going to decrease. And when the patient is developing symptoms, develop symptoms, and when they come to the hospital, the oxygen saturation is less than 90%. Less than 90% means the patient belongs to a severe category. So high-risk category, that too, diabetes and high BP, heart disease, chronic liver disease, or any kidney disease and all these, and stroke also, definitely it is an indication for these patients are prone to develop a severe disease. So again, back to the children, back to my own children's pediatric population. What I told you, that the disease is never sick, critical. The acute corona, when the child is having a corona infection, the chance of the child developing a critical disease is less than 1%. But a healthy child who had developed corona in the past, that is between who had corona and after corona within 2 weeks to 8 weeks, that I'll say up to 2 months, that is a child had corona, the child is a healthy child with no associated diseases, the child is a healthy child, the child developed corona, and after that, for 2 months, the child should be perfectly monitored. That is for your attention. That is any parent, you are a parent, or you have friends, you can tell them, because any child who's developing corona, because we are making testing, we are making them testing, because you will know that the child had symptoms. Because that is a child you will know that, because once we are seeing patients, because the child was having fever, we are telling the parents that you please test your child, but they are always reluctant in testing the child. But after 1 month, the child is developing another fever, you don't know, you are never sure that whether it is a post-COVID case or not. So another thing we are stressing, because to test the child, because, or anyone at home, father and mother is positive, means you will definitely know that child will also definitely have an infection. But there is no evidence of infection in the parents, there's no evidence of infection in the child, and the child is developing a fever within 2 months. That is, the child had corona, and within 2 months, the child is going to have a fever, and I'll give the photo. And the child is having a fever, means I think my slides have got stuck. Anyway, I'll see. The child is going to have a fever, means 1 minute. The child is going to have a fever, means you have to be double careful, because within 2 months, any fever in a child within 2 months means you have to look for MIS, because it is a post-inflammatory. It means multi-system inflammatory syndrome, which is developing in children, and it develops in 1 in 2,000 to 3,000 cases of children. Because in 2,000 to 3,000 children who have been affected, one child may develop MIS. 1 minute. the slides on the stack item. Yes. So that too, the sad part is that the child is a normal child. I already told that the acute bad corona develops in a already sick child, but this is a healthy child, but the child is developing MIAC, means it's a very sick situation. It is developing in 1 in 2,000 to 3,000. So what are the symptoms, or what are the what you have to look what all you have to check? What all you have to check, because in within 2 weeks to 2 months, so what another thing, what is the reason for MIAC means? It is that the body, I already told about the cytokine storm. I already told about the cytokine storm. That the cytokine storm means the child, it is not cytokine storm. The child's body is going to produce some antibodies. And this antibody production takes about a 2-week time. So this problem develops after 2 weeks, not before 2 weeks, because the body produces antibodies, and these antibodies are going to attack the child's body itself. So it develops between 2 weeks to 2 months. It develops in 1 in 2,000 to 3,000. And it is a crowded slide, but just some simple points. Any child who's had developing fever for more than 24 hours, you have to take the child to a doctor who had corona in the past, and the child is having fever. You have to be careful of a post-COVID situation. And some simple things, that is a rash, that is child is having a rash, it's redness of the eyes, a child is having some redness of in the body, and also red tongue, red lips, and a child is having an abdominal pain and a tendency to vomit, and also loose stool and a headache. And some blood findings that I'm not going to stress, but the important thing is that that may be it may be severe, it may be mild, moderate, or severe. You don't know which child is. I had my four children develop COVID. We could never predict whether they will develop or whether they will not. And luckily, thankful to God, they never developed. So we cannot predict who will be developing MIAC or who will not be developing. So that is, there is in a severe type of miss, there is a very high chance of developing cardiac problems. That is the pumping function, the pumping of the heart is going to be affected, and also coronary aneurysm. You can see that is the coronary means it is the blood vessel which is going to supply the heart. They are going to become big, that is going to become dilated, or they are going to have develop thrombus or some clots inside. These never happen in the children in the acute COVID or in a new COVID. So that is the main risk. So in any child with MIAC, they should be treated in a well setup, in a hospital with good system of all departments, especially a cardiology unit. It can be also, I don't say that every children develop a severe miss. It is less. But mild, there is also mild miss. In that also, we do a cardiology checkup, because any problem is there, because the child is going to have a life ahead. So we make sure that there is nothing. Some type of miss, they settle by themselves without any medicine. But anyway, the message to be taken from this class is that you always get tested. That is within 2 weeks to 2 months, if the child is developing some symptoms, fever, you have to be cautious of, and you have to keep a high index of suspicion. So anyway, some pathological parts of the disease is over, and which as a mother, I am concerned, because I have 6 children, 5 of them are going to or having online schooling. But luckily, I have they are playing with each other. They are having siblings to play with. So we are not encountering with so much problems. But today also, I had a child in the OP, and the child is 12 years. He's having 49 kg, and I told his mother that she is having overweight, and also he's having constipation. These are the problems, because the time management is very poor for the children. So indirect effects is definitely multifactorial. It's related to nutrition, because the children we are seeing in the OPD after these 1.5 years, that most of them are overweight. They are having constipation. They don't have a timetable. They go to bed at, that is the most important. As parents, we have to stress, because at home we always make our children sleep before 9:30. Make it sure that they sleep before 9:30. As parents, we must stress. We must make it a point that we must get them to bed before 9 or 9:30. They must have a strict timetable, and to get up from bed early, that too at a strict timetable. Because the child, the boy who came to me today, he was telling that he's having class at 8 a.m. He gets up from bed, sits. Mother is saying he sits in the bed from 7:30 to 7:45, goes to brush at 7:45, and then goes to kitchen at 7:50, gets a tea and some rusk or something, and then get into the class at 7:55. Will there be a time for going to toilet? And I was asking, boy was telling, no, there is no problem. There is no problem with my bowel. I'm going to toilet. But mother was saying that, doctor, there is samayil. Where is the time for him to go to toilet? He usually goes in 1 to 2 days. This is something very important related to nutrition. We have to prepare a timetable for our children. That as a mother, that is my request for you, because we have to prepare a timetable for study, and for play, and that too for exercise. It is better if they run around the house for half an hour or something, and in the evening also they must have a timetable for nutrition, for taking the food, for play, and for family gathering, family and enrichment, and also everything should have a time. And that next, about the online, this class is never complete without discussing on this, because online learning and classroom learning, there is no face-to-face interaction, not able to. Because every child is thinking like that, not able to make friends, no work in groups, play, partake. But there are, I think we have to look to the friend, we have to look to the future. It is going to be, all our efforts are going to be successful. We will be able to curb corona. So I tell children, pray deeply, because that God is going to intervene, and you will be able to go to school. And so online learning, we have to be careful, and also the screen time is also much more. And some points, because of this, about the recommended screen time for, it is less than 2-year-old. No, the recommended no screen use is recommended for less than 2 years. From 2 to 4 years, 1 hour of screen time. And for older child, that too, the children have to manage the time. They have to, anyway, the class have to, they may be having 2 or 3 sessions, 2 or 3 hours of class. After the class, they have to utilize the time very efficiently, because they have to do their homework in a fast pace, and and also they will have to reduce the screen time related to other and maybe for seeing cartoons or films, and also we have to advise them on that, because naturally the screen time, myopia, short sight, when we ask ophthalmologists, they say, in my child also, after the corona, the power also has gone for him also. So screen time have to be managed. So next, it is a 20-20-20 rule. That means the child is looking onto the screen for 20 minutes. Any person, child or an adult, that's looking onto the screen for 20 minutes, the person is supposed to look to a wider area, that is to a object, or to the sky, or something which is at a distance for 20 feet away for 20 seconds. That will be relieving a strain of the eyes. device for after 20 minutes of a screen exposure and 20-second break to a distance of 20 feet. That is the 20-20-20. We just ask our children to look to a distance. And home environment, naturally, nothing is more comfortable, nothing is more enjoyable as a home, because the children are stressed. I have much more to discuss about the psychosocial aspects, but it is beyond the scope of this, but definitely we have between the real love between the husband and between the parents, because we have to build heaven, or we have to build a home between us, because a love between us is going to strengthen. The parents definitely need to strengthen themselves through prayer or through the love between them, and that they are supposed to share it with their children, because any good quality time with our children is definitely necessary, because it may be you have to take the time is not recommended, even in a half an hour time with our children, and also parents and grandparents together. Even we are having prayer time, and after that we spend some time together. Sometimes that's much. Children have to open up their hearts. They have to open up. They have to speak in front of us. Definitely, home is the place for the wholesome development of the child, and that is definitely needed for a child. Any corona, anything that is going to attack from outside, nothing is going to break this barrier of the home. So definitely nothing again. COVID vaccine, definitely that is the most important. Please take the vaccine. Anything, and no vaccine we say it is superior to others. Any vaccine that is available at your nearest center, please take it. You are protected. Your children will be protected. There is no chance of MIAC or long-term complications. You're going. Even if I had COVID, I was taking all the precautions, but we are in the midst of the disease, and once I had the disease, I took the opportunity for a 17 days prayer time, and that was a wonderful experience for me, having prayers and some jobs which I had planned in the future and which never happened, and that too. And evaluate at the correct time, as I've advised. Take all the precautions. Always be aware that you are never infected. But once if infected, you can always evaluate and take all the necessary precautions. Thank you. Thank you for the patient listening. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, ma'am. That was a very detailed presentation. And you even touched upon the screen time to be allowed to children. But nevertheless, we are not able to control their screen times, because after the classes, they will have notes which will be sent through WhatsApp, and they will be taking all the WhatsApp notes till 9:30. They will be going on with their screen time, because every teacher gives at least 3 or 4 pages to write. So all 7 periods, they will be attending classes. After that, they will be writing the notes. There is nothing, I don't think there is a measure to control. For high school children, it is really a very hard time nowadays. I had certain questions to ask you. Actually, I was infected with COVID in April 2021. And I still have some taste and smell problems because I don't taste the original taste. Why is it so?
In all the patients, it is not the same. That is the virus specifically, because in other viral infections, it is not that you are getting a rhinitis or nasal block and it is going to get cleared easily. But here, the virus is going to infect in the rhinoreceptors in such a manner that maybe in persons, I had my taste and smell to return after almost 4 to 5 days. But in case of corona, it is noted that persons are having a different interval. So the cause is not definite because actually it is a new disease and the cause is not known because there is no definite medicine to be taken for the smell to return or like that. But actually, we see that it returns in a varied interval. If the returning of the taste and smell it does so in different times for person.
Okay.
It is not for, it is not, I had, because my husband had that loss of taste and smell for 10 days or 10 to 14 days. I had the return, I had it back by 4 to 5 days.
Okay.
So some persons take 2 to 3 weeks. Ma'am, I think you're having 4 to 5 months.
No, the taste and smell has come back. It's not
it
a
is
problem.
Something different.
Yeah,
different.
something different. We know actually when we taste something,
okay,
we know the original taste is different.
Okay.
But still, I'm having some kind of a taste. I can't describe it. I don't know what it is.
We have not been given definite explanation, but because it is a new disease, and anyway, we give the patient it will return. We hopeful that it will return. Because
you're of the opinion that no medication is needed for
no
that.
medication is needed because you are not there is no nasal block or nasal discharge, so no medicine is going to help you in this. And the inhalation, steam inhalation and all can help, but there is no recommendation to promote or like that.
Okay. I think the members can unmute themselves. If anyone has any questions to ask, you're most welcome.
Ma'am?
Yes.
I have a question. Ma'am, what are the precautions that have to be taken after COVID? Or is there any post-COVID symptoms or like that? Or is there any need to test any blood test or like that?
The problem, I've already stressed that during COVID, mostly the patients who's going to have a severe infection will be having mostly post-COVID symptoms. And who's having a milder infection, they have lesser infection. Really, lesser infection. So when you have a severe infection, or you having respiratory problems, or you develop a pneumonia, or you having a dip in the saturation and all, these patients are going to develop a long-term morbidity because they may having respiratory problems, they may having cough for a long time. And breathing exercises, you can check in the net, because breathing exercises post-COVID rehabilitation, it is many sites are available showing post-COVID rehabilitation exercises, breathing exercises. These are very good because to increase lung capacity and all. And hair fall is also being seen. But for that, we are giving vitamins and all. There is no definite explanation for that. And joint problems, that is a minimal exercise after the recovery of the COVID is also good. And good food and good rest, because in the period of isolation anyway, in any viral infection, you are having a decreased immunity. There is an immunosuppression, we say. That is, the patient is having even in chickenpox. I remember I went to my hospital after 4 days of onset, because when you take medicines, I remember that my madam sent me back, that is, you are having a viral infection, any sort of viral infection, you have a decreased immunity, and it is necessary that you have to take a good rest. During the period of COVID itself, you take a good rest, you have a good balanced diet, you have plenty of water, you must keep yourselves hydrated, because the state of COVID, post-COVID, naturally, some things you cannot avoid, but definitely what I've already told, you're getting evaluated at the correct time, you're getting good rest. Now also we say that is for 17 days isolation. I also had my 17 days of, I took good rest, but one of my friend who went back to hospital on the 11th day, she was telling me that she was having some breathing difficulty when she went back to rest. So she was asking me that never to return back to work before 17 days. I returned back to work after 24 days. So during the COVID attack, also you can be double careful that you're getting good rest, good diet, good hydrated. You're keeping ourselves hydrated, and you're getting evaluated at the correct time. That is, you're never going to go to a state of bad lungs. So if you're having a pneumonia, you have to maybe you have to be getting admitted to ICU and all. You may be having problems afterwards also. Then also for blood coagulation also, some patients may be having to take drugs to prevent blood coagulation for a longer period of time, and also heparin and all those drugs you have to do that is blocking the coagulation also, they might need for a longer time. So anyway, a person who have a moderate or severe infection, you need to have a follow-up with a cardiologist or a pulmonologist according to the recommended. Anyway, after 1 month, they need to consult. They need to have a consultation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hope it is clear.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Actually, I want to know any limitations in steaming every day in children?
No, actually, it is not recommended. No, there is no definite protocol saying that steam inhalation will prevent a severe infection also. And the steam itself, we see that persons are using that is, they are in boiled water, and also for children, if you are using boiled water, and also it is going to give a good steam. So it may be going to cause burns and all. So a mild steam is okay, but there is no recommendation as to prove that steam inhalation will prevent complications, or it will result in less problems, or no. There is no in his recommendation. But drinking warm water for cough and all, we are not giving, as I told in the talk, we are not giving for children with cough. Usually out of COVID, we give salbutamol, Estalin. Some drugs are there that is going to dilate the bronchus, because it is needed for any cough is going to constrict it is going to constrict the bronchus. So give drugs for dilating the bronchus. So these drugs are never recommended in COVID, because that is going to increase the heart rate. Increasing the heart rate may exaggerate other problems also. So drinking warm water. We always recommend to give minimum drugs, that is paracetamol, ORS for loose stool. Just make the child, because there is poor taste and smell. Child may not be taking food actually. So try different dishes. There is no dish we can recommend that don't give like that. So we can give different dishes, try again and again. When I had COVID, I used to take pickles. Even when I lost my taste, there was something that is going to hit. So a pickle was going to hit somewhere. So we didn't know whether it was boiled or cooked. No, there was no taste in also. Maybe you can try different delicacies. Maybe child is not taking food. Urine output is very important. If the child is not taking adequate water, the urine output is going to be definitely bad, and that may be resulting in a bad kidney. So that is very important. Hydration of the baby, hydration of the child. And never a strong steam is never it is recommended.
Okay.
Ma'am, I have one more question. It's heard that once they are a virus to another person, there is no need to go for a PCR. Is it correct?
I don't understand.
That is, once you have taken an antigen test and you've got a negative result.
Yes. Okay.
That means the load is less.
Load is less. But
less.
The antigen is only 50% sensitive. It
Okay,
dictates
okay.
only
So
50% of the patients. So,
okay, so do you think in children
Better.
PCR has to be done even if the antigen test shows a negative result?
Actually, as a mother and all, I usually never put the child to an antigen test, because for small children we have been taking swabs for as small child as 1 day. You can never poke the nose of a small child. So
Yeah.
once you're poking, if it is only, it may not. In the picture I showed, it is actually the swab should reach the nasopharynx. That is at a bit depth. In a small baby, newborn, or any child, it is never easy. Only in an elder child, that is more than 6 or 7 years, it is always an ideal swab. We can say an ideal swab should reach the nasopharynx. It is never possible in a child. Maybe it is the nasal, that is, it is going only to the nose. It is never going beyond the nose. So why poke a child once for an antigen and you're getting the result negative, but the child is symptoms and the patient parents have so much apprehension. And the thing is that the COVID positive mother who is breathless. The thing, COVID positive mother who is breathless and who is bringing her child with fever. When I check the child, he's not having fever. Actually, the mother is not able to speak with her breathing difficulty. But still, every parent is very much apprehensive about her child. I tell them the child is not having any problem. Doctor, check antigen. I'm going to test it. It's a small child and the child is well enough. He's not having fever at all. I make the mother go to the isolation ward, check her levels, check her X-ray, and check us, because when there is no mother, there is no welfare of the child. Yes. So mother is important. So I always, why poke a child when there is only 50% chance? And again, when the parents are always apprehensive, doctor, sherikin COVID illa nu orpikkan patto. And when we see the parents, we can decide. I never personally like to send for an antigen. In some situations, maybe for an elder child, I've got positivity, but personally, I like to send for RT-PCR. Why poke the child 2 times? Okay. Definitely, RT-PCR result is better. As a mother, I cannot recommend.
Okay. Thank you, doctor. If you have any questions, you may put a raise hand option. Please use the raise hand option to ask the questions. I have one more question, doctor. What is this cocktail antibody cocktail?
That is, I forgot to mention, because in the latest guidelines, this cocktail antibody is the hottest topic, because I told you that with patients with comorbidities, anyone, you can in this group, them yourselves or any relative or your parents get COVID corona, you can go for a cocktail antigen, monoclonal antibody. It is monoclonal antibody. 2 times in a ratio it is given. And the problem, when I had corona, I was very sick. My husband told me that we went for an evaluation, and on the 3rd day itself, my lungs and the CT and also my blood vessels were normal. Otherwise, we were planning for a monoclonal antibody injection. It is expensive because it is going to give prepared antibodies to the body, so that it is the persons who had the antibodies say that they come out of the out of the injection in a very better manner, because they are very much better. They never cook for the complications, but it is expensive. That is, a single vial contains 2 doses, and it costs 1.2 lakh. But if same 2 persons developing symptoms at the same time, and usually in a family, 1 person develops, and after 3 days, the next person will be developing. So it is ideal to take very early in the disease. So I already told, even if you have a single suspicion, any suspicion of COVID, you have the mildest of the symptoms, get yourself tested. and you find that you're positive and you are having some other risk factors, as I've told, or you're getting treated for some other diseases, or you're feeling that you are not healthy, you're not having adequate immunity, go for the monoclonal antibodies. It is available in many private hospitals.
Yes.
I think in Thrissur Medical College also it is available. The cost, and you have to get it at the earliest, ideally within 3 days, not later than 5 days. Not later than 5 days.
And it is recommended only for a person who has been identified with positive
yes,
COVID.
Definitely, because it is so expensive. You never recommend antibody cocktail for a person. The take-home message is that any suspicion, you have to get yourself tested, and at the earliest, because in the early onset, it is just that you always take the day from the onset of symptoms, never from the day you are getting tested. I am having fever on day one. When I had fever, when I have in my own experience, August 7th night I had fever. I got tested by RT-PCR on 8th. The result came on 9th. And we went for the evaluation 9 because I was having very bad cough and all. And we were planning for a monoclonal. If I had any issues, we were planning for a monoclonal. It is expensive, but never expensive than a life. So
okay, sure,
it is definitely for your parents, if you're having any comorbidities and you feel that they're having much problems, always go for the monoclonal. It is the hottest one in the present guidelines. But the two things you have to get. You have to be positive, and it is expensive, but at the earliest, ideally within 3 days, but never after 5 days, because there is no use. Because after 5 days, I already told, they are going to develop, they have already the complications. These antibodies are going to bind to the body, that is the coronavirus is not able to bind. So even after getting the bad antibodies after getting bound, there is no role for this antibody.
Even if a person is vaccinated, he has taken both the vaccines, still he can accept this antibody.
Yes, it is his choice. Anyway, for the vaccine, and the thing, even if you are vaccinated, the evaluation must be correct. You have to get yourself evaluated with the blood test and also the X-ray, because one of my friend in Tiruvalla got bad on the 5th day, after the 5th day. She was telling me that if she had some problems, she went to hospital on the 6th or the 7th day. And the doctor was telling that even if it would come before, she should have got this monoclonal antibodies.
Okay, so it's not something like immunoglobulin that you take before the disease comes.
No, it is for the betterment. And even after talking to the patients who have taken the monoclonal antibody, one of my friend's husband was telling he was coming out as a new person. He was having so many symptoms, and his wife was in bed for 5 days. And my friend, Dr. Hema, was in bed for 5 days, couldn't do any kitchen work, and they were ordering everything, food all through Swiggy. But her husband was okay, was much better after this monoclonal antibody.
Okay. That's an information really.
Anyway, I forgot to tell. Anyway, it was good that you asked. Anyway, get tested. First precautions. Get tested at the early. If you can opt a monoclonal antibody, then Jubilee, Ashwini, and all, it is available. If you have two of you are available, it will cost you only 60,000. And then get evaluated. Once you are infected, if you are not of a high risk, you cannot say who will be developing the complications. Actually, it is difficult to say. We have seen, Dr. Uma was telling me that the youngest patient referred was a patient, Anisha, who was only 26 years old. That girl was referred last week. She was telling me that, she was telling in our group that this was the youngest patient who was to be referred to medical college, was sick and was referred. So you cannot say she was not having any comorbidities. So you don't wait for that. You can go for monoclonal if it is affordable, or evaluate yourselves correctly. Never go for a bad state of the body to be reached, and get evaluated and get treated.
So thank you very much, doctor. You have given so much of information for us, and these are all helpful in our daily life. And I should also thank Dr. Uma Devi, who referred Dr. Sonia to us. Dr. Uma Devi is one of our family member. She is the wife of CA Ragesh Parameswaran, and I am extremely thankful to Dr. Uma Devi as well as Dr. Sonia. Doctor, you did a wonderful job, and the presentation was so crystal clear, and we are very thankful to you for giving so much of information. You were patient enough to answer all the questions. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
Uma is a team leader. Actually, we are proud, very proud of her. I'm very proud of her because she had been handling patients very confidently. And even after my children and my husband was infected, I was after her. I usually ask her all sorts of questions. I used to deal with adult corona also. And I also wanted to learn more. And it has been wonderful working together. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, doctor. Just a second.
Uma, you are here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was over there. Thank you for the kind words.
Oh, namla hospital kandilengil evada vechu kandu.
Nice to have you here.
Nicely. Nice.
ബാക്കിയുള്ള ചോദ്യം നമ്മുടെ എക്സ്പെർട്ട് പറയാനായിരിക്കും. എന്റെ ചോദ്യം.
No, I just wanted Sonia to take her talk by herself, so I didn't interfere. That's all.
We're very happy to have you here, Uma.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm handing over to Gayatri.
That,
Gayatri, please.
So we are all predicting COVID third wave and all. Luckily, though we had lot of patients from getting sick equally from the same family. That is, last week we had 4 people all in category C. We say category C for the most severe symptom patients. 4 people from the same family, and one of them died. So such patients are now coming to our hospital. But luckily, as Dr. Sonia said, no kids. We have not seen any kid getting complications yet. The youngest person being admitted for treatment, it was around 20-year-old boy. And as Sonia madam said, the youngest person getting referred to medical college due to severe symptoms was a 28-year-old girl. But not younger than that. Luckily, we have not seen any kid getting sick in front of us. We just hope that we never see such a thing happening.
Correct.
Okay. And then regarding vaccine, one thing, the vaccine is only, many of us have a wrong image that vaccine is going to prevent corona. It's not going to fully prevent corona from not getting corona, but it's going to protect us from getting the critical type of or a severe type of COVID. It's going to protect us from that symptoms. And as madam said, the most effective or the most important thing is definitely mask. The properly worn mask is the key protector for all of us. As madam said, we were the first 2 people to see the patient who has come with COVID in last February. From that, we have been working as a team for past 1.5 years. So we have entered the isolation ward with 50 to 60 patients, COVID positive, strongly infective, everybody coughing out. So the whole air is full of COVID virus. But that properly worn mask has always protected us.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sonia and Dr. Uma. The words from both of you were something that each one of us required right now. You both made us realize how important it is to take precautions and prevent ourselves from getting affected, and how lucky we are to breathe in without any difficulty. Ma'am, you have given us confidence to overcome all the odds and have given us hope that every one of us can survive these dark days, and we can go back to the normal maskless days in very near future. Thank you for doing so. Thank you very much, both of you. And as a token of our gratitude, we are presenting a virtual memento to Dr. Sonia, and I request Sumesh sir to virtually display the memento.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Now it's time to conclude Jwala 2021. And for that, I welcome CA Bindu, the President of Women's Club, and let's hear from her.
Thank you, Gayatri. We have come to an end of the technical two technical sessions and a health session planned for the day. We had almost 175 distinct viewers yesterday. I would also like to thank everyone for their support and cooperation extended to us. Thank you very much, Dr. Sonia ma'am, for your valuable guidance, especially in this pandemic situation. I would also like to extend my sincere gratitude to Dr. Uma Devi, wife of our member, CA Rajesh Parameswaran, who helped us to arrange this informative session by Dr. Sonia, and for also sharing some informative experience to us. Hope Jwala 2021 was a fruitful program to all of us, and the credit of the same goes to our own energetic lady speakers, CA Babida, CA Gayatri, CA Valentina, and CA Sruthy. Thank you for your time and efforts. It is indeed a proud moment for us, and I wish that our emerging lady speakers rise up in the coming years with flying colors. And I request all of our lady members to come forward as speakers and actively participate in our program in the coming days. Once again, thanking you all. I request Danya for a formal vote of thanks. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm extremely happy to express my gratitude to all esteemed delegates of this webinar for their presence and contribution to make this Jwala 2021 a great success. Yesterday, we had our inaugural ceremony and we had expressed our thankfulness to the respected chief guest, Mrs. Vardhini Prakash, Conference Director CA Babu Abraham Pallivairi, and our motivation and rank holder CA Shruthy PS. It's my proud privilege to propose vote of thanks on the victory of such a successful event. I, on behalf of Women's Club of Thrissur branch of SIRC of ICAI, extend my heartfelt thanks to the honorable delegates, including senior members, past chairmen, fellow members, and students who blessed us with their presence and spent their valuable time on this conference. Firstly, I thank Dr. Sonia Joseph, Junior Consultant in Paediatrics General Hospital in Irinjalakuda. The health session was really knowledgeable, and gave deep insight into the topic. The point where Dr. Sonia Joseph told us about COVID precautions, especially in children, was really informative, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I'm grateful to the conference convener of this conference, Jwala 2021, CA Shilpa Ramdas, for her abundant efforts to make this event a grand success. Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm very grateful to see our chairman of Thrissur branch of ICAI, CA Aryan KK, Vice Chairman CA Ajit Kaimal, the Secretary CA Jean Paul, Past Chairman CA Anup G, Treasurer CA Anup Francis, and SICASA Chairman CA Sadish DG for giving us an opportunity and full support to encourage this event. Further, I'm grateful to CA Bindu SS, our President of Women's Club of Thrissur branch of SIRC of ICAI, for her sleepless efforts to make this event a memorable one. I must thank our own dynamic lady speakers for giving excellent presentation on various topics. Our sincere thanks to CA Babida T, CA Gayatri M. Venikal, CA Valentina Joe, and CA Sruthy K. I wish all speakers who present papers move on to bring fame to Thrissur branch of ICAI. I would like to thank CA Swapna Balan Subramaniam, CA Gayatri Sugmaran, CA Preeta Shinoy, CA Shudni Ashok, CA Sandra, CA Sujata Ajay, CA Smriti Sangeet, CA Remya Nair K, CA Anjana T. Thomas, CA Mini, and CA Divya Dharmarajan for doing their part very well of this organization, of the webinar. Also, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to all staff of ICAI Thrissur for their valuable support. Also, I would like to thank Dr. Uma Devi for joining us in this event. Last but not least, I have no words to express my thankfulness to all dignitaries, senior members, fellow members, and all other delegates who have witnessed this webinar and made it a memorable and successful event. Once again, thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. And with that, Jwala 2021, the flagship program of Women's Club of Thrissur branch of SIRC comes to a close. Thank you all for your support and participation. Here we end Jwala 2021 with our national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे